So, starting here, a new project. It's October 2nd. We're going to do 4 things in this. Number 1, utilize the storyboard on the iOS device. Number 2, create an outlet on the storyboard. Number 3, create and 4, 2 actions. Alright, starting off, choosing a new template for the project. Single view application, again iOS. Product name, Hello World. And we are going to use iPhone device. Next. Creating it on the desktop. Alright, here we are. Let's see what we have on the left here in the navigator. We have Hello World, and then within we have Hello World folder containing Hello World app.delegate.h, app.delegate.m, the storyboard. Again, it's already configured to the iPhone device. ViewController.h, ViewController.m. Under supporting files, we have the main.m. Alright, so let's get to the storyboard right now. The storyboard is going to have 3 things. Again, we mentioned an outlet and 2 actions, but first, before that, we must put the elements on here. I'm going to start with a text bar, text field, excuse me. Going to make it bigger. We're going to go over here to the right. The attributes placeholder is going to say your name first. Okay, we're going to center that. Alrighty, and when we get back to this storyboard, you're going to see there she is, your name first. Alright, we also need, taking this from the object down here, going to take the label, and of course that's not it. We're going to also grab, same spot, a rectangle, rounded rectangle button. The rounded rectangle button is going to say hello. Alright, and now we need to create a link between the storyboard and our view controllers. So what we're going to click is this tool right here. It's going to bring up now. You can see we have both the storyboard and an area for code. We're currently looking at the .h. As you can see here, we can adjust that to .m. We're going to use both of those here. Alright, so we've added the user interface elements. Now what we must do is create an action for the button. Okay, so we're going to create an action for the button, and we're going to do this by right-clicking on the button and dragging it. Well, let's make sure this is .m. Excuse me. This is the .m file. Hello World ViewController.m. We're going to right-click on this button, and we're going to drag it right in between interface and end, right under the import ViewController.h. Okay, so again, we're creating on this. We're ultimately creating our action. So we want to call this action change name, and it's an ID, and it's going to be active when we touch this inside of the application. Okay, so we just created that, and this put the code in 2 places. First of all, where we drug initially, but also down here, as you can see, right before the very end of the project. Okay, so that is where that most recent action affected our program. So what we've just done is we have created an action, and this added code again in 2 places in that .m file. Now we need to create outlets for 2 elements, the text field and the label. Okay, we're going to behave in a very similar fashion. We're going to name them, of course, a bit differently. We'll double-click, drag it over here, right above the action that we just created. We're going to call this text field. Type UI text field. Storage is going to be weak. That's default. Going to connect it. There we go. Added some code there. Alrighty. And now we're going to add go about this similar to as the label. Okay, creating our final action, final outlet. Dragging that on over here in between interface and end. We're going to call this one label, UI label, weak storage. Alright, there we go. So we've just done two things. Created our outlet for the text field, create our outlet for the label, and of course prior to that we created our action for the button. So if we were to run this right now, we would see essentially this interface. It would be useless, of course. Build succeeded. Here she comes up in just a moment. Alrighty. She's opening up. Here comes our interface. Your name first, label, hello. Now these buttons are not active, so let's move on and do that here. Alright, now what we need to do after creating the two outlets is we need to make sure that our connections are accurate. So what we need to do is go back, get rid of the double pane here, simply looking to the storyboard, main storyboard.storyboard. We go over here to the connections tool, and what we want to look at are the connections for the view controller. So we go over here, click view controller, and that gives us a great amount of information. Now we have everything configured accurately at this time. We have the label configured to the label in the script, text field configured to the text field, and the view to the view, and of course we've got our action created to change name. So wonderful. Now one major element here is we need to go over to our text field, and this is going to have to do, this is a relation to when the program is opened, what does it want to look for. We need to tell it to look for the text field as the delegate. So what we do here is double click on text field, drag it on over, and click delegate. Boom. Now over here, this is the text field identifier, outlet delegate. Boom. Alright, moving on here, we have a look at another critical, very critical element, because if we were to run it now we'd be able to type, but we would not be able to get rid of the keyboard on the app, nor would we be able to change the label. So now what we need to do is add a property declaration for user's name. So what we're going to do is simply go in to the viewcontroller.h, and we're going to type in property copy non-atomic NSS string star username. So what that looks like is that. Alright, so we've just completed that element. We did create a property declaration for the username. And now we need to implement the change greeting method. So we're going to add, remember when we looked here earlier this morning, we created that action, it added some code down here. Inside of that we want to add the following to link the action to the username. And finally, we want to add a Boolean logic here that's going to allow us to close the keyboard after we have entered our text. And that concludes the creation of the app. Let us build it. Again, we're running it on an iPhone simulator. Here we are. Your name, let's type it. We didn't make the label big enough. It's a very simple resolution. Click the label. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to see, we just stopped the old one, now we've started a new build. Beautiful. There we go. We used the storyboard, created an action, and 2 outlets. Hope this helps you going forward. This is created with Apple's Xcode program, downloadable in the App Store for free. I hope you guys are able to do so. Have a great day.